Hello, my name is Pepe Lam, and today I'll be going over how to start protecting your Azure AD, Azure VMs, and Azure storage and file shares. The first thing we need to do is to connect your IBM Storage Protect for Cloud to your Azure environment. One thing to note is that the user interface for this video still shows the old name of Spectrum Protect Plus Online Services. We are currently working on updating the UI to use the new name Storage Protect for Cloud. You can do this through apps. Apps are Microsoft's preferred mechanism for establishing the connection that essentially allows IBM Storage Protect for Cloud to authenticate into Microsoft 365 to perform the jobs needed to protect your environment. Now, if I go over into App Management here on the left-hand side, we can see that we already have an app in place, and it's the Microsoft 365 All Permission app. I created this app by coming in here and clicking Create and then selecting Microsoft 365. This is the standard app that will allow communication and authentication for backing up your Microsoft 365 tenant. To protect your Azure environment, there are additional steps required. To protect your Azure AD, you will have to add a service app. To create a service app, first you want to click the Create link. After clicking Create, you'll notice these three tabs. Navigate over to the Service tab and you'll see Storage Protect for Cloud Azure. Instead of having a standard app with all the permissions, service apps are a way for Storage Protect for Cloud to have specific permissions that are required to perform its task. So if that's selected, I'm going to click OK and select the user who's going to allow that app to be installed and give it its permissions, which will authorize the app. This should be the global administrator. Review the permissions that will be granted to the Storage Protect for Cloud Azure. These permissions grant access to backup and restore your enterprise applications, your groups, and your users. Then I can click Accept. Once that completes, we can now see a new app for the Storage Protect for Cloud Azure. If you want to protect Azure VMs and storage, there's another app that is required. The extra app is called a delegated app. A delegated app is in response to Microsoft's ever-evolving view on security and permissions. The delegated app will have a set of permissions that will only be available during certain contexts when it's running. This provides an extra layer of security. Now, so far, I've created a service app which will grant me the ability to back up Azure Active Directory. But with the delegated app, it'll grant Storage Protect for Cloud Azure the ability to back up Azure VMs and storage. Once again, I have to click Create, navigate to the Delegated tab, and you'll notice here Storage Protect for Cloud Azure, but also Storage Protect for Cloud Microsoft 365. This is the standard backup for backing up your SharePoint Online, OneDrives, and Exchanges. Delegated apps provide some specific functionality, in particular around the restore of items like Teams channels. I'm going to check Storage Protect for Cloud Azure. Once again, select the administrator account that is going to authorize this app installation. Review the permissions, and once I'm done reviewing the permissions, just hit Accept. Once you are back in the App Management screen, you will see the two apps that are required for Azure Backup. Now, this is the standard app for backing up our Microsoft 365 instance, and these two apps are required for Azure backups. There is one more requirement that is needed for Azure VMs and storage. You can view the requirement in the Storage Protect for Cloud User Guide under the Get Started sections. I'll navigate to the IBM Storage Protect for Cloud User Guide, go to Storage Protect for Cloud Azure, and click the Get Started link. There are two topics under Get Started for the Storage Protect for Cloud Azure. The first is Enable Backup for Azure Virtual Machines and Storage. The second is Enable Backup for Azure Active Directory. If I look at Active Directory, there are only two steps, with one of the steps what we just went through with configuring the service app profile. Then you can go straight to the Storage Protect for Cloud Azure UI to configure your backup scopes. For Azure VM and storage, there are actually three steps. We did the first step, which was create the delegate app profile. The second step is to assign the app the contributor role that has to be done on your Azure subscription. This step involves going to the Azure portal to assign the role before you can start creating your backup scopes. Here's my Azure portal. First, I'm going to go to my subscriptions, then navigate to Access Control. Under Role Assignments, you will see I only have one role assigned. So what I'm going to do is add a new role assignment. Next, I'm going to look for the contributor role. Select it and then hit Next. And here I'm going to look for the Storage Protect for Cloud Delegate App Member, and then I can select it. Then hit the Next button to review the changes, and after hitting the Review button, you'll see the role assignment completed and the number of role assignments increased by 1. Once you perform those steps, you're ready to go into Storage Protect for Cloud Azure and set up your backup scopes for Active Directory, VMs, and storage and file shares. Thanks for watching this short video on configuring app profiles in IBM Storage Protect for Cloud Azure.